Imagine a guy who's got everything going for him. Charming, handsome, and charismatic. But behind that perfect facade, he's hiding a dark secret. His name is Ted Bundy, and his life started with a birth certificate, just like anyone else. But what's shocking is how he managed to fool even his closest friends, all while committing some of the most horrific crimes in history. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, held him close. The hospital room was quiet. A new life had started. Lloyd Marshall, Jack Worthington, and Samuel Cowell all claimed a connection to Ted. But the truth about his father remained unclear. Years passed, and Ted grew up. He attended school, made friends, and seemed normal. But beneath the surface, something was forming. In 1974, Ted was a law student at the University of Utah. He was intelligent, charismatic, and calculating. A darkness was emerging, and it would soon be unleashed. A young woman disappeared in Washington. February 1974, the first known victim. Ted's secret life had begun, and it would never be the same. The police were investigating, but they had no leads. No suspects, no motives, no clues. Just a missing person and a community in fear. Ted continued his studies, outwardly calm. But inside a storm was brewing. A hunger was growing, and it would soon consume him. As the days turned into weeks, the police found nothing. No signs of the missing woman, no evidence of a crime. Just an unsettling feeling that something was wrong. Ted's life seemed normal, but it was a facade. A mask that hid the truth. A truth that was horrific. And it would soon be revealed in all its terrifying glory. The University of Utah campus was quiet, peaceful. Students studied, unaware of the danger among them. Ted walked among them, a wolf in sheep's clothing. His law studies continued, a bizarre juxtaposition. A future lawyer with a secret life of crime. The contradictions were staggering, the implications terrifying. As the weeks turned into months, the police were no closer to finding the missing woman or uncovering the truth. Ted's secret remained safe for the time being. But the darkness was growing, spreading its roots, and it would soon engulf everything, leaving destruction in its wake. The question was, how far would it go, and who would be next? The answer, much like Ted's true nature, remained hidden. For now, the charade continued, the mask firmly in place. But the cracks were beginning to show, and it was only a matter of time. Before the truth came to light, and the world saw Ted for what he was. A monster hiding in plain sight, with a hunger that could never be satiated. And the question that haunted everyone was what would happen next. The police were searching, but they were looking in the wrong places. For a killer who was hiding in the shadows, waiting for his next victim. And Ted, the law student, was watching, waiting, and planning. His next move, a mystery, a terrifying enigma. The only certainty was that it would be brutal, and it would be soon. And the world would be left to wonder, how could this have happened? The darkness was growing, and it would soon consume everything. Ted's secret life was about to become a very public horror. And the question that everyone would be asking was, how did we miss the signs? The answer, much like Ted's true intentions, remained unclear. But one thing was certain, the truth would eventually come to light. And when it did, the world would be left to pick up the pieces and wonder how it had all gone so. The investigation was ongoing, but it was moving slowly. The police were following leads, but they were all turning out to be dead ends. And Ted, the law student, was watching, waiting, and planning his next move. His next victim, a mystery, a terrifying enigma. The only certainty was that it would be soon, and it would be brutal. And the world would be left to wonder, how could this have happened? The answer, much like Ted's true intentions, remained unclear. But one thing was certain, the truth would eventually come to light. And when it did, the world would be left to pick up the pieces and wonder how it had all gone so. The clock was ticking, and time was running out. For the police to catch Ted before he struck again. And for the world to understand the true nature of the monster that was living among them. The question was, would they be able to stop him before it was too late? Or would Ted's secret life continue to thrive and claim more victims? Scene 1. The Trigger. February 1974. Washington's winter cast a cold shadow over the city, concealing a horror that had just begun. When Linda Ann Healy, a bright young University of Washington student, vanished from her home, the community was plunged into panic. Her roommates, waking to find her bed empty and belongings untouched, immediately alerted the authorities. Detectives arrived quickly, their minds racing with questions. A bedroom window slightly ajar, a faint trail of blood on the bedding. The chilling first clues in a case that would haunt the Northwest. As investigators combed through Healy's room, they were struck by the absence of struggle. It was as if she had been spirited away while she slept. The police, initially bewildered, focused on the scant evidence at hand. The only certainty was the icy dread settling in their chests. A missing student, a community in fear, and an investigation that was only beginning. Their first lead was thin, but it was enough to set the wheels of discovery in motion. Scene 2. Hidden Angle. On June 7, 1975, Ted Bundy escaped from the Pitkin County Courthouse in Aspen, Colorado, with the help of a distraction created by his own actions. Bundy, appearing in court for a pretrial hearing, requested permission to visit the courthouse law library. Authorities, perhaps charmed by his demeanor, granted his request. While inside, Bundy seized the moment. He opened a window, checked the drop below, and leaped. Landing on the grass, he sprinted into the Colorado wilderness. The escape was a pivotal moment. It exposed the vulnerabilities in the system and Bundy's extraordinary audacity. While search teams scoured the nearby mountains, Bundy took advantage of their confusion. He borrowed a stolen car, slipping through the net that authorities had hastily cast. His flight was a bitter embarrassment for law enforcement and a chilling reminder of his cunning. For a time, Ted Bundy vanished, free to continue his deadly spree. Scene 3. First evidence. Back in 1974, as the search for Healy intensified, authorities stumbled upon their first concrete evidence. Linda Ann Healy's clothes were discovered in an abandoned shed just miles from her home. Investigators felt a jolt of hope. The clothing bore traces of blood, suggesting foul play. But with no suspects, the evidence only deepened the mystery. The police began to piece together a pattern, linking Healy's disappearance to other missing women in the region. The investigation team realized they were dealing with something far more sinister than an isolated kidnapping. The case took on a new urgency. The clothes were a whisper of a violent truth, a hint at a predator lurking in the shadows. As they studied the connections, a chilling picture began to emerge. Scene 4, the lead that was missed. In the summer of 1974, Elizabeth Klopfer, Ted Bundy's girlfriend, made a call that could have changed everything. She reported her suspicions to the police, providing a chilling list of details that seemed to align perfectly with the looming figure of the elusive predator. She spoke of strange behaviors, of items that didn't belong, and a name that had surfaced in multiple investigations, Ted. However, amidst the chaos of overlapping jurisdictions and a flood of tips, Klopfer's warning was brushed aside, lost in the shuffle. The police, overwhelmed and under-resourced, failed to connect the dots. This oversight allowed Bundy to continue, adding more names to his grim tally. The consequences of this missed lead were devastating, as Bundy remained free to terrorize communities across the country. The investigation was gaining momentum. But with every step forward, there were stumbles that allowed Bundy to stay one step ahead. The darkness that surrounded him was only deepening, and the question loomed larger than ever. How much longer could he evade capture? As the investigation continued, the need to find answers became more urgent, the stakes higher. The world was watching, waiting for the next move, as the clock ticked down on a killer still at large. Scene 5, a reckless gamble. In early 1975, a reckless move by Bundy nearly led to his capture. He brazenly approached Carol Duranch at a Utah mall, impersonating a police officer. Claiming her car had been vandalized, he convinced her to accompany him to the supposed crime scene. But once inside his Volkswagen, Duranch sensed something was wrong. Her intuition proved life-saving. As Bundy fumbled for handcuffs, Duranch fought back, managing to escape the vehicle. She ran, breathless and terrified, straight to the real police. Her harrowing account provided investigators with a crucial piece of evidence, a description of Bundy and his vehicle. This encounter was a near miss for Bundy, one that tightened the net around him. The police now had a solid lead and a witness willing to testify. Despite Bundy's slip, the authorities still faced a daunting challenge. The evidence was mounting, but the shadowy figure remained elusive. For every step closer, Bundy seemed to fade into the background, a ghost haunting the lives he touched. As the investigation pressed on, hope flickered in the darkness. A predator might finally meet his downfall. Scene 1, The Trigger. It was August 16, 1975. When the air in Utah seemed to thrum with tension, a patrol officer noticed a suspicious tan Volkswagen idling near a residential area. As the officer approached, the driver sped off. A chase ensued, weaving through the quiet suburban streets, until the car finally pulled over. Inside, Ted Bundy sat, his calm demeanor at odds with the situation. A search of the vehicle revealed a chilling collection of burglary tools, a crowbar, handcuffs, and a ski mask. This wasn't just a routine traffic stop. The items, seemingly innocuous at first glance, were darkly suggestive in the context of recent disappearances. Bundy was arrested for suspicion of burglary, but investigators quickly realized they might have stumbled upon something far more sinister. This arrest marked the first tangible crack in Bundy's facade, setting the stage for the horrors to be revealed. Scene 2. What Extremely Wicked Hid. In Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, Bundy's relationship with Elizabeth Klupfer is portrayed as a passionate love story, overshadowed by his alleged innocence. The film suggests a love blindsided by accusations, painting Elizabeth as unaware, until the very end. But reality was grimmer. Elizabeth had long suspected Bundy, plagued by inconsistencies and strange behaviors. She approached law enforcement multiple times, sharing her fears and the unsettling evidence she found, plaster casts and an array of women's clothing. These revelations were starkly absent from the film, which softened the edges of Bundy's manipulative prowess. His ability to maintain a double life while feeding on Elizabeth's vulnerabilities was downplayed. The reality was a harrowing testament to Bundy's psychological grip on those around him. His charm masked a chilling reality, keeping Elizabeth ensnared in a web of deceit and doubt. Real people. Detective Jerry Thompson, a seasoned investigator with the Salt Lake City Police, played a pivotal role in linking Bundy to the string of kidnappings. Upon Bundy's arrest, Thompson found the items in the Volkswagen eerily reminiscent of other unsolved cases. He compiled a dossier that included witness descriptions and vehicle sightings, connecting them to the enigmatic man now in custody. This meticulous work turned suspicions into actionable leads, elevating the investigation to a new level of urgency. Meanwhile, Carol Duranch emerged as a key figure in Bundy's eventual downfall. Her escape from Bundy's clutches was not only a triumph of instinct, but also a critical turning point in the case. Her courage in recounting the terrifying encounter to the police provided them with valuable testimony and a description that matched Bundy. Duranch's bravery was a beacon of hope in a dark narrative, reinforcing the necessity of vigilance and resilience. Scene 4. Investigation Pressure. As Bundy sat in jail, the nation watched with bated breath. News of his arrest and the potential link to multiple disappearances spread like wildfire. Public fear surged and media scrutiny intensified. Families of the missing demanded answers, while law enforcement faced mounting pressure to deliver results. The media circus that ensued turned Bundy into a reluctant celebrity, his name plastered across headlines nationwide. Yet amidst the chaos, bureaucratic red tape and interagency rivalries hindered progress. Crucial information was lost in the shuffle as jurisdictions struggled to share evidence and coordinate efforts. Bundy exploited these gaps, using them to sow confusion and doubt. The investigation teetered on the brink of collapse as the public's patience wore thin and the clock continued to tick. Scene 5. A Reckless Gamble. Bundy's confidence was his undoing. On December 30th, 1977, he made a daring escape from the Garfield County Jail in Colorado. Exploiting lax security and his own guile, Bundy squeezed through a hole in the ceiling of his cell, accessing the crawl space above. He moved stealthily, slipping past guards and into the frigid night. By the time his absence was discovered, Bundy was long gone, leaving a trail of embarrassment and panic in his wake. This escape was more than a logistical nightmare. It was a psychological blow to those who sought justice. Bundy's disappearance reignited public fear and sparked a nationwide manhunt. For law enforcement, it was a painful reminder of the predator's cunning and their own vulnerabilities. The system had failed once more, and a killer was on the loose. As the investigation intensified, the stakes grew higher, and the urgency to recapture Bundy became a desperate race against time. Scene 6. Elusive Pursuit. In January 1978, Bundy surfaced in Tallahassee, Florida, under the guise of Chris Hagen. The quiet college town was unsuspecting, a stark contrast to the chaos he'd left behind. Settled into a boarding house near Florida State University, Bundy blended seamlessly into the student population. His presence remained unnoticed until the early hours of January 15th, when, as the clock struck 3 a.m., Bundy crept into the sorority house, wielding a wooden club. The attack was brutal and swift, leaving 2 young women dead and 2 others severely injured. The brutality of the crime scene sent shockwaves through the community. Panic spread, and the hunt for Bundy intensified, now with the Florida State Police joining the pursuit. Detective Mike Fisher, newly assigned to the case, recognized the brutality as Bundy's signature. He coordinated with investigators across multiple states, piecing together Bundy's movements and identifying patterns. As evidence mounted, law enforcement closed in. The pressure forced Bundy to flee once more. But this time, his escape was short-lived. On February 15, 1978, Bundy's luck ran out in Pensacola, Florida. Officer David Lee stopped a suspicious vehicle and discovered Bundy behind the wheel. This time, Bundy couldn't talk his way out. The arrest was a turning point, and with Bundy in custody, the full weight of his crimes began to unravel. As the legal system prepared for trial, Bundy faced the specter of justice, his reign of terror finally nearing its end. Scene 1. The Capture. On February 15, 1978, in Pensacola, Florida, Officer David Lee noticed a suspicious vehicle weaving through the quiet night streets, its driver acting erratically. When he pulled the car over, he found Ted Bundy behind the wheel, disheveled and on edge. Bundy had been on the run for weeks, his face plastered across newspapers nationwide. As Lee asked for identification, Bundy lunged, a desperate bid for freedom. But this time, the law was ready. Officer Lee subdued him, and Bundy was finally back in custody. This arrest was a seismic moment, signaling the beginning of the end for the notorious fugitive. Scene Fashion. Once in custody, Bundy was interrogated by a team of seasoned detectives. He played coy, weaving a tale of denial and misdirection. But under the intense scrutiny, cracks began to show. On February 23, 1978, Bundy confessed to 30 homicides. His voice was unsettlingly calm as he recounted the gruesome details, each admission a chilling insight into a mind devoid of remorse. The confession was a bombshell, shattering any lingering doubts about the extent of his crimes. Investigators and families of the victims were left reeling, the scope of his atrocities more horrifying than anyone had imagined. Scene 3. Courtroom Drama. The trial of Ted Bundy in Florida was a media spectacle, drawing unprecedented attention. The prosecution, led by State Attorney David Bloodworth, presented a damning case, meticulously detailing Bundy's crimes. Key evidence included bite mark analysis from the Chi Omega attacks, irrefutable and chilling in its precision. Bundy's own defense was audacious. He chose to represent himself, a move that turned the courtroom into a bizarre theater. He cross-examined witnesses, including his former girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, who testified on his behalf. Boone's testimony was a spectacle in itself. She declared her belief in Bundy's innocence, even agreeing to marry him in the courtroom, a twisted display of loyalty that left spectators in disbelief. Despite Bundy's attempts to charm the jury, the evidence was overwhelming. The trial exposed Bundy's manipulative nature, his facade crumbling under the weight of truth. Scene 4 shows truth exposed. Here is what Extremely Wicked got right. The film captured Bundy's charisma and manipulation, particularly in his relationship with Elizabeth Klopfer. It showcased the media frenzy surrounding his trial, accurately depicting his self-representation and the public's fascination. Here is what they completely changed or left out. The film glossed over the brutality of Bundy's crimes, instead focusing on his charm. It omitted the harrowing details of his confessions, which revealed the full extent of his depravity. The portrayal of Carol Ann Boone's courtroom marriage was romanticized, downplaying the bizarre reality of the event. These omissions softened Bundy's image, missing the chilling truth of his calculated malice. Scene 5, The Verdict. The trial concluded with the jury delivering a swift verdict, guilty on all counts. On July 24, 1979, Bundy was sentenced to death for the Chi-Omega murders. The courtroom erupted, a cacophony of relief and disbelief. For the families of the victims, it was a bittersweet triumph. Justice had been served, but it could never undo the horrors Bundy had wrought. As he was led away in shackles, Bundy maintained his characteristic composure, the veneer of confidence unbroken. But beneath, the reality was undeniable. His reign of terror had ended, and the world was finally free from his grasp. With Bundy behind bars, the questions that lingered were profound. How had he evaded capture for so long? And what drove him to commit such unimaginable acts? The answers were elusive, buried in the twisted psyche of a man who had defied understanding. As the dust settled, the world was left to ponder the dark enigma of Ted Bundy, a predator whose charm belied the monstrous truth within. Scene 6. The unraveling investigation. In the months following Bundy's conviction, law enforcement agencies nationwide began piecing together the full extent of his carnage. The spotlight turned to Detective Jerry Thompson of the Salt Lake City Police Department, who had pursued Bundy for years. On September 6, 1979, Thompson uncovered a critical lead, a previously overlooked set of keys found in Bundy's Utah apartment. These keys fit the locks of multiple vehicles linked to unsolved disappearances. This discovery reignited cold cases, prompting investigators to re-examine evidence with sharper scrutiny. As these new connections surfaced, the chilling realization dawned. Bundy's network of victims was broader than they ever imagined. For the families waiting for answers, hope flickered anew, though tinged with the pain of reopening old wounds. The investigation, relentless and unyielding, continued to chip away at Bundy's legacy, exposing the full extent of his malevolent web. Scene 1. Immediate aftermath. On January 24, 1989, the air buzzed with anticipation outside Florida State Prison. Inside, Ted Bundy sat in the electric chair, his final moments eerily calm. The execution marked the end of a dark chapter, but its echoes lingered. Elizabeth Klopfer, Bundy's former girlfriend, sought solace through writing. Her memoir, The Phantom Prince, My Life with Ted Bundy, unveiled the haunting reality of her relationship with the man she once loved. Meanwhile, Carol Ann Boone, who had married Bundy during his trial, vanished from public life, determined to shield their child from the shadow of his legacy. The world moved on, but for those closest to Bundy, the scars remained fresh. Scene 2. The unanswered question. Yet, as the dust settled, one question refused to fade. How many victims were never found? Bundy confessed to 30 homicides, but investigators feared the true count was higher. The case files brimmed with unsolved disappearances, each one a chilling reminder of potential unknown victims. Investigators continued to sift through cold cases, haunted by the possibility of more unclaimed lives. The enigma of Bundy's reach, his hidden atrocities, remained an open wound in the annals of crime history. The terrifying thought persisted: how many more had slipped through the cracks of his monstrous spree? Scene 3. What this story reveals. The story of Ted Bundy is more than a tale of gruesome crimes. It is a stark illustration of the seductive power of deception. Bundy's ability to navigate society undetected exposed the vulnerabilities within systems meant to protect the public. His case highlighted the chasm between appearance and reality, how charm can cloak malevolence, allowing evil to thrive in plain sight. Bundy's life was a mirror reflecting society's blind spots, a cautionary tale of the dangers lurking beneath the surface. His legacy serves as a haunting reminder of the darkness that can reside within the seemingly ordinary. Scene 4. Close. Follow Dark Crime Decoded for more real stories behind your favorite crime series and films. Scene 3. The Unseen Investigation. Amidst the unsettling questions, retired detective Kathleen McChesney found herself unable to leave the case behind. In February 1989, driven by the unfinished puzzle, she revisited old witness statements. One name stood out: Debbie Smith, a potential victim never confirmed. McChesney contacted Smith's family, reopening their wound, but offering a glimmer of hope for closure. As new evidence emerged, connecting Bundy to Smith's last known location, the investigation gained momentum. Yet with each lead came an agonizing reminder. Some answers might remain forever buried. The chase for truth, relentless and unforgiving, carried its own heavy cost.